the essence of time, we're going to go ahead and try to get started right here on the dot. We've only got 30 minutes this morning to get through quite a bit of information that we're hopeful is helpful in helping you guys better utilize and better understand what 4-H Common Measures is. So I would like to welcome you to the first part of a reoccurring training series that we're essentially launching today. And amongst these series, myself, Jesse Mullendor, and my colleagues, Renee Eastman, who's also on today's call, and Jill Lingard, will be co-presenting throughout this calendar year, essentially, various trainings, and we'll be repeating the same ones that we're doing already. So today's training, let me see here, make sure my mouse is working. A little delay. There we go. Is Common Measures 101, and this is the part A, and it's titled Getting the Most Out of Common Measures 2.0. So today we're really going to kind of give you some background information, help you understand where we are in Common Measures, and kind of help you start understanding how you can use it. Before I get started, though, I forgot to take care of some housekeeping information. So today's webinar is going to be recorded, and we know that you may have some questions, and some of the discussion that we bring up may present some questions for you. We ask that you go ahead and just use the chat box to type those questions in, and someone from our team will get back in touch with you afterwards, as time will be of the essence today. And so your questions may be answered later on in today's presentation or even in subsequent presentations that follow. So please use the chat box. Okay, so we're going to kick off here with just a little bit of a background and some history about Common Measures in general and how we've gotten to what today we refer to as Common Measures 2.0. So big picture, what was needed by the 4-H system? So back in 2012 and really years leading up to 2012, we were lacking the ability to aggregate data locally, aggregate it largely at the state level and even bigger at the national level. And so that was something that was really needed. We were looking for ways to use data to help us pinpoint successes in our programs and ways and areas in which we can improve our programs. We'd never had a common language, so everyone was kind of evaluating based on their own needs, and so we really wanted to go back and provide a common language. Let me see if I can go back a slide here. Renee, could you maybe try to go back a slide? Okay, Renee, I'm going to go ahead and let you just control the PowerPoint. It's kind of, we got a weird delay or something happening, but so we wanted this common language. We needed these resources to be accessible. So there were a lot of great things happening at individual universities, individual counties, and trying to share that was a challenge. So we really wanted to make sure what we created was accessible. And Renee, we've lost the PowerPoint. If you could maybe put it back up when you have a second. Perfect, thank you. And then we really wanted to take our evaluation beyond simply just reporting numbers, which I think we were very fluent in, and really begin answering that so what question. So we don't want to just know that we had 10 kids at our program. We want to know what impact we made on those 10 kids. Next slide, please. So with all of that information in mind, that led us to trying to figure out what is the best way to go about doing something like this. Well, Pam Payne and Dan McDonald actually conducted a study back in 2012 that used common measures or a common instrument, a common survey in community programs. And a couple of the things that they found through the use of that instrument was that they had an easier time securing and maintaining limited funding. So that is going to be true for everyone. Funding is always something that we're trying to secure and maintain. They were able to then use their data to develop or impact some legislation and policy. They increase their accountability to funders and participants, which is something that's always great, when we can prove and show we're doing, what we say we're doing and trying to help you and us at the same time. It assisted in program decision making because they had data to work with, and ultimately it improved the quality of their program evaluations. So that's what common measures, the term in general, means, but what specifically are 4-H common measures? Because there's a lot of types of common measures out there, but specifically what are 4-H common measures? So when we say that term, we're referring to a library of evaluation instruments. So that's surveys, survey questions. These surveys and evaluation instruments are designed to measure youth impact. So we're looking to measure the impact that our 4-H programs are having on the youth. These instruments also are being used to build the evaluation capacity of our staff and of our stakeholders to help them better understand and see why it's important to evaluate and have these types of programs. 4-H Common Measures allows us to describe 4-H consistently and simply. So by having a common set of outcomes that Common Measures has been designed to evaluate, we as a nationwide program can all say, this is what we're evaluating and this is what we mean when we say we're evaluating 4-H science or we're evaluating interests and attitudes, because everyone's on the same page. These measures are applicable to a broad range of programs. So that was by design. That was important to us that they could be transferred across a lot of programs, knowing that 4-H looks very different across the nation. However, we're all, at the end of the day, typically reaching towards those same larger outcomes. Just how they are being achieved is where the variation occurs. So these instruments, these surveys can be used across a lot of different programs. And common measures can be used in the assistance in planning either local evaluations, evaluations at the statewide, and then even within your region or nationally, as some of you have maybe experienced through National 4-H Council grants. And common measures, they are free and open and available to all 4-H faculty and staff. That was something that was also very important. We wanted these to be usable, and so making them accessible and free was really important to the Common Measures team. So overall, the goals of Common Measures are to identify a common core of youth outcomes and indicators which can be used to improve programs. So we've identified in the areas of science, citizenship, healthy living, we have a universal positive youth development instrument and a 4-H experience instrument with a series of outcomes for each of those, and with those outcomes, indicators that help you understand if in fact those outcomes are being achieved. We wanted to provide a process for assessment and the ability to report from a national database. Excuse me. So we're continuing to work towards that goal and make some national data available through our council grants, through our national calls for data, and other experiences like that. We wanted to provide state 4-H programs with resources to assist them in the planning of their evaluations. So that's the capacity building, trainings such as what you're on today. And then we wanted the improved ability to write impact statements. So once again, moving beyond that, just reporting the numbers and really getting at the why and the true impact that we're making. So here is a big kind of snapshot over time where Common Measures has come and where we're at today. So this idea about Common Measures really started around the 2012 timeframe. That's when Common Measures 1.0 was developed. It took about a year to get a product developed through partnerships with evaluation experts at land-grant universities. We had 4-H staff. We had representatives from NIFA and from 4-H Council. Everyone was present there brainstorming and helping shape what Common Measures has now become. It was launched in 2013. And then in the subsequent years, 2014, we added the college and career readiness instrument. We aligned with Qualtrics as our online survey platform. I know a lot of you are familiar with Qualtrics at your university level. We think it's a great product as well. 2015, we added the Common Measures reporting template. By that time, we were starting to get some traction and people needed help taking their data and doing something with it. And so that's why we created the Common Measures reporting template to help with that. In 2015, we also started kicking off what was kind of the transition from 1.0 to 2.0. We partnered with the UNL Map Academy to do a pretty intense study and collected lots of data and really reviewed and revised our common measures. And we're going to talk about that here in the next couple of slides. So in 2017, we launched Common Measures 2.0. And then in these last 2 years, we've really been focusing on capacity building. And so we've done some challenge cohorts where we've gotten universities at different levels to adopt and utilize common measures to help collect data and really start putting common measures to use in different ways. Looking into the future, or I guess I shouldn't say future, we are now in 2020. We are excited to be embarking on the launch of Common Measures 3.0. So Common Measures is something that's going to be evolving over time as our programs change, as our youth change. Our evaluations need to change as well. And so we will be launching 3.0 with some updates and revisions. And excitingly, we are also working on a new instrument that's going to be added to our library, and that's the 4-H Animal Science instrument. And so that instrument has become the topic of our new year based on the feedback that we've gotten from you folks in the field and from staff across the nation saying that there's a need for that. So we're excited for that, so stay tuned here in this next year for those. So just, I'm going to go through these slides pretty quickly, but I wanted to give you a little bit of background so you understand the rigor behind the updating process that we go to when we update common measures. So this is an example of what occurred when we transitioned from 1.0 to 2.0. So like I mentioned, we partnered with the MAP Academy, which is the Nebraska's Academy for Methodology, Analytics, and Psychometrics. And their charge was really to address the positive response bias of Common Measures 1.0. So all of those questions that lead kids to always give a positive answer. We needed to improve readability. It was brought to our attention loud and clear that, you know, these are written at the 4th grade level, but kids are still struggling. We wanted to make sure that the answer scales were appropriate. So youth were really struggling with separating out the difference between I strongly agree with something and I agree. In their minds, they just agree. So we really took some time to figure out what is the best answer scale. We added some new instruments and did some redesigning of the universal. So we've added the 4-H experience scale, and then we redesigned the universal to include some character and some other positive youth development elements. And then lastly, the MAP Academy created a survey protocol, which is a standing document that's really there to help you better implement. It gives you a structured process on how to implement, how to report, how to utilize common measures and keep the integrity and the fidelity of the instruments, how they were designed to be used. So the revisions process included youth and adult focus groups, youth cognitive interviews, staff with the MAP Academy sat down with kids in a room with the evaluation instruments, did hands-on activities and talked to them about, you know, what do you think this question's meaning? And then went back and reflected, this is what the youth said. Is that what we intended that question to read? Because if not, we needed to do some rewriting. We then piloted the surveys. We did some pre-testing with a nationwide sample. And then we actually national event. It was tested at 4-H Congress with a large scale and did a lot of pilot testing there. We then continued to review and look at these items through the challenge cohort, the first challenge cohort, I should say. And from that challenge cohort, the MAP Academy developed an implementation case study that really gave us some guiding information that's going to be used as we develop Common Measures 3.0. So ultimately, Common Measures 2.0 now provides us with a robust set of instruments, an updated resource suite, which is code for our website. We've added a lot of new resources that should help in the use and the adoption of Common Measures. We're continuing to provide training and support. And then most notably, you're going to see changes in the questions and those response options. So like I mentioned, we address the positive response bias. They're cognitively appropriate for the ages. Reliable recognition. This was one thing that was a good change. It's a very challenging thing to ask a youth to recall back to something that they did this morning. You know, how many fruits and vegetables did you eat? You know, they don't remember what they did 5 minutes ago. So asking them to recall a whole day's worth of fruits and vegetables or level of activity or citizenship types of questions was very hard. So we worked on that. And then we wanted to make sure the questions we were asking were in the youth's control. You know, if it's something, a decision that a mom or dad or a parent figure makes, and it's out of their control, it's not fair to ask them questions about that. So these were all the kinds of things that we took into consideration. We also created core surveys and surveys with supplemental questions to address the length. We know that length of surveys is always a concern, and it's always challenging to keep the question length short enough to get that survey done in the few minutes that you guys have at the end of a program. So we understand that's always a concern. And then we created a framework for making data-driven decisions. And so we wanted to help you guys take that data to drive decisions that are going to impact your programs, make them stronger, and make them better. So on the screen now is just a quick snapshot of some professional presentations and posters and papers that the MAP Academy has produced based on their work with us. And so this is just to show you that this isn't just for 4-H. 4-H's use internally. This is really impacting the world of youth evaluation at the larger scale, because youth evaluation is something that's not a lot of research has actually been done on. So we're proud of this and the work that's being done. So I'm now going to switch over and let Renee Eastman take it, and she's going to actually explain to you what's in the Common Measures library. Go ahead, Renee.
Thanks, Jessie. Now that you have a good understanding of why the Common Measures evaluation instruments were developed and how they have transitioned over the years, let me tell you where you may find the evaluation instruments. The evaluation instruments are referred to as the Common Measures 2.0 library, and they're located on our website. You can see the website address there at the bottom of the screen, 4h.org, Common Measures. The library contains 6 survey instruments as well as a demographic instrument, the 4-H experience, universal, science, healthy living, citizenship, college, and career readiness. Each survey instrument is available in a core format and the full items format. Because survey length is always a concern, we've identified core items. Those are those items that should be used together with the option of adding supplemental items. The MAP Academy helped us identify the core items that statistically hold together, while the Common Measures team provided input to the items that are most transferable across multiple programs. Most of the instruments are developed for youth 4th through 12th grade, and as a reminder, this is a change from Common Measures 1.0, which had 2 age versions for each survey. One instrument, the College and Career Readiness survey, was designed for youth in grades 8 through 12 only, along with one content block in the science instrument, the Skills and Attitudes content block. The instruments are available in English and Spanish and may be downloaded at the Common Measures website in the Microsoft Word format. When you download the instruments, you will see the core items highlighted in yellow. And right now I'd like to quickly show you where those are located on our website. Jesse, can you see the screen, the website?
No, not right now.
Okay, let me share. Now, can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, great. So here we are at the Common Measures website, again, 4-H.org, Common Measures. If you scroll down and click on the Common Measures 2.0 tab, and scroll down to about the third section here, you will find the Common Measures 2.0 instruments, the full survey. This is the core and the supplemental items. Again, this is available in English and Spanish. I'll quickly download a citizenship survey so you can see what that looks like. It opens in the Microsoft Word format. Jesse, are you seeing the survey?
Yep.
Okay. Here you'll see the core items highlighted in yellow. These are the items that may not be used independently. The supplemental items, you can pick and choose. You can also add custom questions, but just be cognizant of survey length and survey fatigue. Back to the Common Measures website. If you scroll down to the next section, this is the core survey section, and this will have only those core questions that may not be used independently. These are the questions that must be used with each independent survey. So I'll download one of those surveys so you can see what it looks like. And here you see all of the highlighted yellow core questions. Just as a reminder, when you are preparing the survey and getting ready to distribute it, make sure you receive that or remove that yellow highlighting. So I'll go back to the PowerPoint. Are you seeing it, Jesse? Okay, great. Next, I'll give a brief description of each of the Common Measures survey instruments. The first is the 4-H experience measure. It was designed to assess the youth program experience as described by the essential elements. This survey is great because it can be used with virtually any 4-H program. It captures the impact of 4-H upon the youth, and it's regardless of the content that's being taught. This is a tested scale, so all of the items may not be used independently. You must use all of the items within this instrument. Next is the universal measure. This is another very useful instrument. It can be used if you're not finding a great fit within a certain content area. The universal instrument was designed to assess the non-cognitive outcomes of 4-H programming, social skills, and personal mindset. If any of you participated in the first national call for data, this was the instrument that was utilized. Again, this is a single scale and the items may not be used independently. Next is the citizenship instrument. It was designed to assess the citizenship outcomes as described by the 4-H logic model within the areas of interest in community service and giving back and community awareness. The college and career readiness instrument is designed to be used with those older youth in grades 8 through 12. And this is not because programming is not occurring with the younger youth, rather because the majority of the program does occur with the older youth. And also by targeting an older audience, it allows us to ask more cognitively advanced questions. The survey contains 3 content blocks: professionalism, college decision-making, and career decision-making. The healthy living instrument was designed to assess the healthy living outcomes in the content areas of healthy eating habits, being active, healthy decision-making, and food preparation. And the last instrument within our Common Measures 2.0 library is the science instrument. The content block that measures science, interest, and thinking is designed for those youth in 4th through 12th grade. However, the content blocks science skills and attitudes and engineering skills and attitudes were designed for those older youth in 8th through 12th grade. And again, this is due to the advanced cognitive level of the questions found in those content blocks. I'll now turn it back to Jessie so that she can tell you about the 5 steps in creating your evaluation plan.
Thanks, Renee. So now that I guess you guys kind of have a little bit of a snapshot of the surveys that are in Common Measures and the outcomes that they're measuring. A lot of you may be super eager to go like, okay, let me create my survey. But there are a couple of steps that need to happen mentally as you prepare to create that. And what we're talking about is either planning your program and your evaluation simultaneously, or reflecting back if you have an existing program, getting the thought process in line to make sure you create an evaluation that is correct. So I'm going to walk you through these 5 steps, and then I'm going to share with you at the end a resource that you guys have access to that you can take back to your local team, to your state, to kind of work through this information. So whenever you're thinking of your program and you want to develop an evaluation, the first thing that we want you to do is to stop and think about your state plan of work or a logic model that's guiding your programs. It's guiding the work that you do. So, and we want you to then look at the outcomes that are on that logic model, on that plan of work, and look at the programs that may already be existing or maybe used in developing a new program. Look at those outcomes and find any alignment between those outcomes and the outcomes of Common Measures. And so that will help you see whether or not potentially Common Measures can be a fit for your program when you get to the point of needing to develop or find your evaluation instrument. So starting with that state plan of work or the logic model is going to be key. Then you need to determine how the youth are going to be engaged in your program. So thinking of this new program or existing program that you have in mind, you know what the outcomes are, but what program or what activities, are those youth actually going to do to achieve those outcomes? So just saying that youth are going to have an increased interest in science is great, but what are you actively doing in that program to make sure that the youth are achieving that outcome? And then kind of along the same lines of that is selecting the appropriate delivery mode. And so some programs that we do may be better suited for an after-school program. Some may be developed specifically to be delivered in an in-school program, and those provide opportunities. So making sure you know how your youth are going to be engaged is going to impact which evaluation questions you select and how an evaluation will ultimately be implemented and delivered. You also need to think about how you plan to deliver your program with fidelity. So sticking to a plan, how is this program going to be delivered by multiple people or multiple staff in the same way that will allow an evaluation to truly capture what's happening. Because if a program is looking very different from, site A to site B, when you use the same evaluation instrument, you're really going to be evaluating different things. And so really just trying to keep apples to apples instead of apples to oranges. We want you to reflect back on your ability to answer the big question. And so really when we say big question, we're referring to the outcomes. Can you, at the end of your program, answer your big outcome question of youth will have increased attitude or increased aspirations and stronger attitudes about science, or their community awareness, or whatever outcomes you may select at the beginning. At the end of going through this program, can the youth answer or do the things that allow you to answer that big question? And then develop your evaluation plan based on all of this information, on how you're going to collect the data and how you're going to report your findings. All of these things need to come into play as you're thinking and planning for what this evaluation instrument and program is going to look like. So then once you get to the end, it's time to develop or identify an evaluation instrument. So once you know what your state plan of work and logic model is telling you, you know how you're going to engage those youth, you know how you're going to deliver your program, you know how you're going to ensure that there's some program fidelity across the board with this program, and that you know that you're answering the big purpose, the big question of the program, then it's time to go ahead and look at an evaluation instrument. And so not always do you need to create a brand new one. So look, does one already exist? If so, can you use it? Or do you in fact need to create one? So these are some big, broad 5 steps to doing this. In the essence of time, I'm not going to show you on our website, but we do have that worksheet available that walks you through those 5 steps through our online learning course through eXtension. And we have information on our website about that, but it's a really great resource that you can take to your team to help as you plan. So Renee, as we progress here to the end, we just want to thank you for joining today. We know we covered a lot of information that likely spurred some questions. Feel free to reach out to myself, Jessie Mullendor, or Renee Eastman, and we're more than happy to follow up with any discussions or questions you may have. And then we also welcome you to join our next learning series presentation, which is Common Measures 101 Part B, and that's developing your survey. And so that's where we're going to take off from where we left off today and really walk through the different outcomes of the surveys, how to use the reference table, how to actually construct a survey, and give you a tangible paper product survey that you can walk away with. So reference our website for the dates and times as these webinars are going to be rescheduled or represented throughout the year. Renee, is there anything else you'd like to add to our closing?
No, just thank you everyone for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you in future trainings.
All right, thanks everyone. Enjoy your day.